Hey everyone, my name is Riley and this video is an in-depth review on Hostinger Palworld hosting. We will be taking a deep dive into Hostinger, specifically the Palworld hosting, and taking a look at the pricing, the features, comparing it to some of the other big options out there when it comes to gaming server hosts. Now, if you do want to sign up to any of these server hosting providers that we mention throughout this video, I will leave links in the description, and using these links when you sign up will give you the best deals and discounts available. Now, something very important that we need to go over before we dive into the actual review of this is going to be the amount of RAM that you need for your Palworld server. This is something people often overlook, and they either buy under the amount that they need or they buy way over and they waste a load of money. So on screen right now are some general guidelines of how much RAM you will need for your server, depending on how many players you plan to play with. So between 1 and 4 players, if you have a super small server, you are going to need between 7 and 8 gigabytes of RAM. 5 to 8 players is going to be 10 gigabytes of RAM, 9 to 12 players is 12 gigabytes of RAM, and then 13 to 16 players, you are going to need around 14 gigabytes of RAM. Now, if you need more than this, if you are going to have more than 16 players on your server, what we can see from the rest of these requirements is that every 4 players you add, you want to be adding another 2 gigabytes of RAM. So keeping this in mind, if you need 20 players on your server, you are going to be looking at around 16 gigabytes of RAM, and so on and so forth. So jumping into the review, if we go down here, the first thing that we are going to be taking a look at is the price. So right here, we can see it's actually interesting with Hostinger because they have 2 different pricing plans, as you can see right here and right here. So what this basically means, and the reason this has 2 prices, let's just say in this example, we want a small server of 8 gigabytes of RAM. If we click into choose plan right here, the period and the amount of time that we are going to have our server for is going to dictate how much we are going to pay. So if we move this down to 1 month, we can see that the price is going to be $15.99 per month for this first month. And then every month after that, it's going to be $20 per month. So we get a little discount for the first month, but then every month after that is $20 per month. However, if we go ahead and move this to 12 months, we can see we get a massive discount right here. So this now drops to $7.50 per month, and we pay all of this upfront. So we buy the entire year upfront right here for $90, and we save like $150 as it says right here. Now, how this works is after the 12-month period has elapsed, so you've bought your server hosting, you've had your server for 1 year, it's then going to move us over to monthly pricing, but this is still going to be cheaper. So if we go to the 1 month, this is going to be $20 per month. If we go to yearly, after that 1 year time period has elapsed, after we paid upfront and used this for 1 year, it's then going to be $16 per month. So like $4 cheaper per month. Then we can get an even bigger discount if we go for 24 months right here. As you can see, $6.99 per month. Once again, we pay this upfront. And then after we have had our server for 2 years, once again, it's going to drop to monthly and be $14.99 per month. So that is the pricing on Hostinger. And I will leave this up as we go through some of the other options so that we can refer back to this. And the first of these is going to be Shockbyte. Now, what I would say with Shockbyte is when it comes to Minecraft server hosting specifically, and some other games around there, this is one of my favorite server hosts. Specifically for Palworld, I would not recommend this, and here's why. So with Shockbyte, they don't actually allow us to choose the amount of RAM when it comes to Palworld. With other games, for example Minecraft, we can choose the amount of RAM, like this is how it should be. But for some reason, with Palworld, we can just choose the amount of players that we want to have on the server. However, this is really not optimized. If we go for this cheaper plan right here, it actually doesn't tell us the amount of RAM that we are going to get. And remember that they say we can have up to 12 players, but they don't tell us the amount of RAM, and we actually can't customize this. However, if we go to this more expensive option that claims 32 players, and we go to add this to cart, 7 gigabytes of RAM. Now, this could be okay if you are hosting between 1 to 4 players, but this claims that we can have up to 32 players. And what we can do is we can go down and we can add like 16 gigabytes of RAM. Like even at this, I would argue realistically, you can only have 20 players on a server with 16 gigabytes of RAM. And this is very, very expensive. As soon as we put this on, let me just change this to dollars as well. This is like $55 per month. And realistically, we can get 20 players. They claim 32. I just don't think Shockbyte is really optimized for Palworld. So with this in mind, this is the reason that I say, if we go back to the earlier option and we go into Lambo, I can't recommend this because I don't know how much RAM they are going to give. So I really can't recommend this option right here. I would just stay away from this because this is kind of unknown territory. But this Grisbolt option right here, you absolutely can use. And with this 7 gigabytes of RAM right here, if we don't make any upgrade, the amount of RAM is actually comparable to over here on Hostinger. This is the 8 gigabyte of RAM that we were looking at. Now with this, if we pay monthly right here, and we don't want to be paying upfront for any of these, well, this is actually a very similar price. As you can see right here, 7 gigabytes of RAM for $20 per month. With Hostinger, we get 8 gigabytes of RAM, so we do get an extra gigabyte, but the monthly price is going to be the same. With Shockbyte, we can also go in and we can get a 25% discount for signing up annually. And as you can see right here, this is going to cost us $180. Whereas if we go the same, this 12 months on Hostinger, we get a massive saving. This is like under half the price, I think, at $90. So the monthly pricing is the same across Hostinger and Shockbyte, but we do get a big discount if we want to go for annual or higher. Next is going to be Apex. I don't want to go super deep into this because this is just crazy, crazy expensive. As you can see, for this 8 gigabyte of RAM server right here, the first month is $21. Every month after that is $28. So we're going to be paying like an additional $8 every single month, just on the monthly plan. The only discount that they give here is billed quarterly, which means that you would pay upfront for 3 months. But once again, this is super, super expensive. You get a discount on the first 3, but then every 3 months after that, it's going to be $75. So on this, you can basically pay a very similar price on Hostinger right here and get an entire year for a similar price as what you can get for 3 months on Apex. Then finally, we have Nodecraft. If we go down here, we have 8 gigabytes of RAM, and this looks very similarly priced at first glance to Shockbyte and Hostinger, but we can see that this is actually a sale. So this price right here is only for the first month, but then every month after that, it's going to be $28. So actually, it's more expensive, and it's actually more similar to Apex in terms of pricing. So that is the pricing right there, and we can see Hostinger is one of the cheaper options out there. And the next thing that we are going to be taking a look at is, of course, the features of this. So one thing about Hostinger that is kind of related to the pricing is the money back guarantee that you get with Hostinger is far better than any of the other options out there. So Hostinger right here, we can see has a 30-day money back guarantee, whereas Shockbyte is only 72 hours, barely gives you any time to really test out the server. Apex, I think, is a little bit better. I think this is 7 days. Yeah, as you can see right here, all servers are eligible for refunds within 7 days. That is on Apex. And then Nodecraft, I'm pretty sure, is the same with 7 days. So yes, as it says right here, if during the first 7 days, the customer finds himself not satisfied, this is 7 days, Apex is 7 days, Shockbyte is 72 hours. And then, of course, Hostinger is the best with a 30-day money-back guarantee. In terms of the features, Hostinger has all of the main features that you are going to need, and all of these other ones do as well, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time going into each of these and showing you, yes, these have the same features, but all of these are going to have mod support, full root access. So this is basically so that you can get into the files and you can install mods, you can do things like this. DDoS protection, which is super, super important for any server hosting provider to make sure that you don't get DDoS attacked and people can bring your server down. And then this is also going to have offsite backups. Going across these, I'm not going to go into all of them because they basically all have the same features. It's just core features that you need. But as you can see, Shockbyte doesn't have anything that Hostinger doesn't have. Hostinger doesn't have anything that Shockbyte doesn't have. Things like DDoS protection, this 100% uptime, the control panel, it just explains a little bit more here on Shockbyte, but Hostinger does have all of these options, including this 24/7 support. Another thing to look at is going to be the customer reviews. So if we pull up Trustpilot right here, and we look up Hostinger, this is Hostinger right here. So as we can see, 41,000 reviews, but most of these are not going to be for Palworld or even game hosting. The reason for this is because, and this is mainly the reason that Hostinger can offer such cheap prices, is because Hostinger is not only a gaming hosting provider, it's also a web hosting provider. So as you can see, it provides WordPress hosting, it provides website builder hosting. And because of this, because it's such a big company, and I'll show you this in comparison to these other options, this is the main reason that Hostinger can offer really, really good prices and also some of the best and fastest server hosting out there. Because it's such a big company, it has so much money to invest into resources. And just to show you this, like 41,000 reviews on Hostinger. If we pull up Shockbyte, we can see this has 10,000 reviews. Apex is going to be right here at 7.7 thousand reviews, and then Nodecraft has 1.5 thousand reviews. So we can see that Hostinger is by far the biggest company out there. So as you can see from the reviews, all of these are fantastic options like 4.9 stars, Hostinger is 4.7 stars, Apex hosting is 4.6 stars, and then Shockbyte is 4 stars. I think this is a little bit unfair, but hey ho. All of these are fantastic options, but as we can see here, this is specifically a Hostinger review. So I'll just scroll down and you can see all of these 5-star reviews right here. So overall, just to round out this tutorial, is Hostinger worth it when you are going to buy your Palworld hosting? I would say 100% absolutely. Firstly, just on a pricing basis, it is much cheaper than Apex and Nodecraft. Like, the pricing is just absolutely crazy. And then when we compare this to Shockbyte, Shockbyte is still a very, very good server host, especially for the price. But the speed, the uptime, the speed of the customer support as well, Hostinger just takes the cake because it's such a big company. They have so much money to invest in resources. And from my personal experience over the years of testing and playing with different game hosting providers, I would say Hostinger is the most reliable out there. So that is my review of Hostinger Palworld hosting. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to smash that like button and tap that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy.